Hey Sunrise, it's Andrew here with your small group questions for this week. So we conclude Genesis 3. So for questions related to verses 15 through 19, head on back to last week's video. That'll give you some of those questions. Specifically, we're going to begin in verse 20 this week. So verses 20 and 21 is the conclusion to what we've been seeing in those curses from last week's video. And so in this, we see the naming of Eve and then God making garments of skin. So what is the importance of God's making the garments for Adam and Eve? What does it make you think of, first of all? What does it teach you about God? And what does it teach you about mankind? What does it relate to you, the importance of God creating these garments versus what they had done for themselves? So those are the first questions as we dive into this final act of God's work towards humanity, our first parents. And so from here, you move to 22, this idea that now there's the pronouncement of God within himself, having this discussion of the fact that mankind now knows good from evil and must be separated out from the garden, that there is a consequence for their sins, and that is removal from the tree of life. And so there's a lot of questions that can come up in this text. But the primary thing we want to see is the consequences for sin, that sin has consequences. And what is that in this text? What is the consequence for sin that Adam and Eve now must live with? And then from that, how does that speak to us? How does that speak to us about the reality of sin, the depth of which it permeates, and how it changes our lives? And so a lot of what we want to spend some time in our study this week is really on some of the implications that we have from all of Genesis 3. The nature of sin, the consequences of sin, the eternal relationship of sin with mankind, and ultimately, how do we find salvation from those sins? All that's unpacked for us in this text. And so I hope you'll spend some time in this text having some good discussions. We bring chapter 3 to a close. Come with questions. There's a lot in chapter 3 that we can discuss. So be prepared to really work through this text together. So I hope to see you guys on Sunday as we dive into this in the preached word, and then in our small groups as we work these out in discussions. So I hope you guys will have a great week, really enjoying this conclusion to chapter 3 and the hope that we see in it. You guys have a great week.